Okay, I'm live. Woohoo! Good morning, everyone. Let's see. I think I need to put something under that, maybe just to get a better angle. If I have it too close here, you're gonna see. Nope, I think that'll work. Talking to myself. Hello. Welcome. We're going to do a restorative kind of session this morning, or whatever time you happen to be watching this. My name's Beth. Welcome to my channel, Divine Me Time, website by the same name. So if you have issues with your joints and they're sore or tender or painful or tight, whatever the issue, we're going to bring some love to all of the joints today. So let's start seated, and you can be in whatever comfortable seated position you choose. So if you'd rather be in a chair, that's fine. I'm just going to be here in easy pose and just kind of feel what's going on today with my back, because as some of you know, I have lower back issues. So just checking in and seeing what's tight, what feels a little off today, if anything, and where I might need to move a little more gingerly. Go ahead and take the hands and place them on that thick part right at the tops of the shoulders. And just let the hands rest there. And you can allow the weight of the hands to push in a little bit. I have my fingers all the way down as far as is comfortable there. So I'm really kind of hanging my hands around. And there's a pressure there. Just allow the pressure of the hands into that meatiness. And from here, let's just take one ear towards the shoulder. And you don't have to take it there. Just let your head go there itself. And so there's no pushing down towards the shoulder, but just a resting to feel just kind of like we just did on the seat. Same kind of thing, just kind of getting a sense of, okay, what's going on with my neck today? Where is it sore? Where is it tender? And then go to the other side. And also feel what's happening in that tissue under your hands. And allow some deep breaths, some cellular breaths. Breathe into the space under your hands. Back to the first side. And back to the second side. And as you're holding, there might be moments where you just notice all of a sudden, oh, I just released, I just let go. So without actively seeking those moments, know that they exist and then pay attention when they do. Back to neutral. Let's just bring the chin towards the chest. And here, there's a way to drop the chin to the chest that is disrespectful to the back of the neck, which would just be kind of a clunk down towards the floor. What we want to do is we want to lengthen the back of the neck and then tuck the chin in. So there's a little bit of movement back into space, Breathe. See if you can feel as you breathe in that lift of everything under your hands, and then release back to center. And then if you'd like to, if it feels safe for you to look up, same thing here. We don't want to just drop the neck back. We want to get long through the front of the neck and create space in the back of the neck as well as we look up. And here I'm really pressing in with my hands, rooting through the shoulders to rise through the neck. And back to neutral. Okay, so you can do this practice, at least the initial parts of it, sitting if you prefer. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on my back. I think I'd like to do that. So you can choose. And we'll start with the hands. So let's just take a moment before we go into the hands in constructive rest, because as I just arrive here, it's just so lovely, and I love and want you to feel as well, if you can, the letting go of the postural muscles. And that firmness of the floor beneath you, holding the back. And actually, let's go ahead and do a body scan of the joints of the body before we begin as well, so that we are really cognizant of what may be going on with them. Bring some attention to them, and then, start this dialogue as we get into some joint movement. So let's start at the toes. We're not going to move anything yet. We're just looking. What's going on with the toes? I did a lot of walking yesterday, and I started to get a blister on the ball of my left foot. So you can notice those things too. And anything that's going on as we scan up through into the heel and ankle, up the shin and calf to the knee, paying particular attention to the knee. Any holding in the knee. Down the thigh, back into the hips and pelvis. Noticing the weight distribution on the back of the pelvis. Noticing any tightness or tension in the hip joints, into the lower back. Noticing if your back is flat on the ground or if there's a little bit of an arch. Feeling the space between each of the vertebrae. Each was singular, right? And then up into the shoulders, the shoulder blades. Feeling the arms off the shoulders into the elbows. And down the forearms into the wrists. And hands and fingers. Now, for me today, I'm just noticing a lot of kind of achiness in hands. And then back into the neck. The jaw. And then just the little bones around the ears, the skull. And maybe a couple of deep cleansing breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. now we can start to work with the fingers. So what I'm going to have you do is just have your upper arms planted alongside the body comfortably. You don't have to hold them in, just resting with the elbows bent. And then we're going to just start with the fingers. So making open hands and then light fists. You can go as strong or as hard as you care to. Just maybe first start a little more gently and then work into that. It's just opening and closing and really sending all of your attention, all of your awareness into what's happening with the hands as you move. And you know, there are ways, I mean, yes, okay, we can just open and close mechanically, but I want you to become more creative and exploratory in how you move. Can you flex just that first joint of the fingers, and then into the second, and then into the third, and maybe, you know, you start to be aware of ways that the joints work together, or maybe ways that they don't. Just notice as you open and close, and maybe play with the fingers. You know, it's interesting how, as we're playing with the fingers, I'll just share with you that my yoga practice for many, many years was Kundalini yoga. And with that, the eyes are very often closed because it's, you know, it's all about going inside. And that carries over into my other styles of yoga practice and has for years. And my meditation practice as well is having eyes closed. And I know that in Zen, they meditate with eyes open. And so I'm finding too now that I'm wanting to practice yoga with my eyes open more than I used to. And so, you know, that's something to think about. If your eyes are always open, try having them closed. If you're maybe just moving one finger at a time, if your eyes are always closed, then maybe try having them open and see, you know, if it disrupts your practice, if it adds some new dimension to your practice. All right, let's move into the wrists. You can relax the fingers for the moment, and then just start to make circles at the level of the wrist. You might feel those two bones in the arms kind of swiveling over each other as you move. And maybe even feel it all the way into the elbow. Let's change the direction of the wrist circle. Good. And anything else you want to just do with the wrist, maybe going back and forth, kind of like you're conducting music. Okay, and now we're going to go into the elbows. So let's just bring the arms out a little bit further from the body so you have more space. And then we're going to make circles at the level of the elbows. It doesn't matter which direction, if you're going towards the face or away from the face. We'll switch directions in a little bit, but just feel that rotation there. Notice if there's any popping or shifting as you come around. How does the weight of the arm feel on the floor? It's interesting because my left arm's having no problem. My right elbow's kind of clicking as I come around. So, you know, this is very gentle movement. I won't say that it's easy movement because it might not be easy for everyone. But we want to keep it as easy as we can for our particular body and our joints. Let's go the other way. And your forearms don't have to come close to the floor if you don't want them to, but feel free as well if you have the range. If you're going to start to work into the shoulders, if you do, you can bring the arms all the way to the floor and around. So I'm just going to keep myself in the air for the moment, mostly because I hit things if I don't. And now if you want to, you can start to add wrists and fingers exploration as you continue to move with the elbows. So now you can get a lot more sensation through the forearm in the fascia, connective tissue. All right. Now I think I better move slightly over this way. I think you'll still be able to see me. So having the arms straight up in the air now, and just relax the hands. And if you're, it's a good idea to just kind of reach up just to feel the shoulders leave the floor and then bring them back so you can feel rested against the floor. And that's where we're going to move from. So just start with some little circles through the shoulder. And I love this. I love to sense into the back body here and feel how the floor can kind of work to massage that shoulder blade area. It's so hard to reach, unless you've got the blessing of someone to do it for you and massage that area. But here you can kind of do it yourself. And again, just noticing differences from left to right. Let's change the direction of the circles. Now let's go to the original direction and get a little bigger. So you can do this in your own timing, just exploring what it's like to start to open up those circles. You might find here now that we're getting into some rib movement more so as well. And all of the ways that the ribs connect into the spine, feeling that space as you open the arms overhead. And reverse the directions of the circles, so starting small and then getting bigger and bigger. And I guess as a role model, I really should just move that chair out of the way. Sometimes when I'm teaching my students, furniture will be in their way and they'll work around it like I just did instead of moving it. And we want to have free space so that we're not compensating in the body for external things, which we do out of habit, Okay, let's bring the arms back to rest alongside the body and just notice what you feel. And now let's move to the feet. So the first thing I would like you to do is simply play with your toes. So you might reach your toes back towards yourself. You might squeeze your toes in towards the ground, towards the heels. So anything you want to do, maybe keep your big toe planted as you lift your little toes, or plant your little toes as you lift your big toes. Now, typically, unless you work your feet on a regular basis, you might find this incredibly difficult, especially if you have been wearing shoes that maybe don't allow a lot of space or free movement for the toes. So if this feels really difficult, just know it happens, and it's just a matter of some effort and time over practice over time. So if you keep with it, you'll start to work through that connective tissue that's gotten maybe a little too tight and a little too hard, and the joints will move more freely. You know, there's, things change, you know. Originally, or in the past, we've been told that we want really supportive shoes that hold the feet and secure the feet. And, you know, they're discovering now that maybe that's not the best thing for the feet, that maybe the feet need to be able to spread and open and feel the ground and be responsive to the surface of the ground that we're walking on, not so protected by, you know, these heavy duty shoes. So it's just something to think about. I'm not recommending one or the other, but just to be aware of. Okay, and now let's start to bring the knees toward the chest, not to work with the knees so much, but just to get the feet a little freer from the floor, to begin making ankle circles. And I have my hands on my knees, and it's a really wonderful way to feel what's happening. You know, even though it's just the ankles that we are focusing on now, you should be able to feel like all this muscular work up the shin and possibly right into the knee. Let's change the direction of the circle. And you might notice snap, crackle, and pop coming in. And you might notice that one ankle makes bigger circles than the other. These are all just things to bring into your awareness. And I just realized I was holding my stomach, so make sure your stomach is soft and falling back toward the floor. You can allow it to kind of empty out behind you. Now let's bring toes and ankles together into just sort of a free exploration like we did with the hands, kind of rotating in opposition now. Go both ways. Squeezing the toes, opening the toes. Good. Okay, go ahead and just change the hands to be behind the thighs somewhere. And just let the one knee open up toward the ceiling. Draw the heel up toward the ceiling and the toes back towards your body and down. Other side, opening up. And you know, you don't have to lock your knee open. In fact, don't. Just opening and closing at the joint of the knee. So doing one at a time, just to notice what you feel here in each one. And then if you want, you can start to do both at the same time. And again, as you do, you know, it's not just the knee that we can feel or focus on, But notice what's happening even under the hands. You might feel as you open your hamstrings start to tighten. You might feel some movement all the way into the hip or even into the back. So just opening and closing. And in fact, my quads are getting tired. Okay, let's go ahead and rest, and we'll move into the hips. So hands on the knees. Let's draw the knees towards the body a little more and then open out to the side. So we'll do the hips at the same time here. And here, you know, if you can make circles, but if you want to hold somewhere, kind of explore that a little bit and then continue on your way in the circle, that's fine. Or you can just keep making circles. Snap, crackle, and pop may return. And let's go ahead and go the other way. Good. And go ahead and rest in neutral. In constructive rest. Now, do I logically have room here for what I wanted to do next? And I'm not sure that I do. So this is up to you if you have the space. You may enjoy having one leg up towards the body, opening out to the side and around. I can do this side pretty easy, I guess, so I will. So just making bigger circles at the level of the hip. And changing direction of that. And then I'll flip around so I can do the other side. Feels really good. Last one. Okay, let me switch myself around and you can start your other leg. And this one's not so comfortable. Crunch. So this tends to be my troubled side. And there's this chair here. So I'm using my hand against the chair and pushing up towards the chair. So the chair is providing weight down. And it's helping me to balance through my back. So there's less crunch, 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 crickle, crickle, crickle through my head. Okay, changing direction of the circle. Yeah, that side is not as strong. Okay. So when you feel complete with that, relaxing. So let's just take a moment to realize and feel all the articulations that we've done through all of the major joints. You still have the back to do, which we'll do in a moment here. But you know, joints are about flexibility, right? Flexibility is an interesting thing because if we are hyper flexible or over flexible, we can destroy or injure what keeps the joint strong. But if we are not flexible at all, then it makes it very hard for us to have free movement and to feel fluid and graceful in life. So it's not that one is good and one is bad. It is that we have to balance strength with flexibility. And that's what yoga is all about. It's about that balance between those two extremes. The other thing with joints is, that inflammation can occur, this heat, right? Pain, heat, stiffness, tenderness, all of these things can land in the joint. And often that has an emotional root in whether or not we are able to set boundaries with our external environment, whether we can honor our personal choices in life. And maybe that goes even deeper still into, shame, guilt, all those heavy feelings that can land in our joints and create different problems, symptoms, illnesses. So it's good to work with and create some space and movement in the joints and just let them kind of exhale or discharge. That's the perfect word, I think. Allow your joints to discharge all of that negative energy that they can maintain. I know I'm talking a lot, but I'll just share one other story that for a while I was having some problems in one of my knees, my left, is it my left or my right? Now I don't remember. And so I just opened a dialogue with it on a walk one day. And I realized that it was my knee wanted to take or was taking this responsibility from me that it didn't need to take. And just from having that conversation during that walk, the knee was fine after that. So, I know from personal experience, it might sound a little nutty, but from personal experience that when we open dialogue with our body, whether it's through words or through movement or some other way, just bringing our attention to it and trying to understand it, we can create ways for the body to heal, pathways for the body to heal. Okay, so let's bring the knees up. Let's bring the hands behind the head, creating a little basket with the hands interlaced. And we're going to work with the spine here. And rather than pick the body, what's left of the body on the floor, instead of picking it up, we're just going to slide into a C curve. So bringing elbow towards hip, feeling the spinal curve, and then the other side. So here we're opening up through the ribs on the side body. We are shortening the waist on the side that we're drawing together, going back and forth. And in fact, I like the hands behind the head, but I think I would like to actually try having my hands just alongside my body so you can do it either way. And just, yeah, that feels better to me. I'm getting more through my neck, and might as well bring the neck into it. So just going back and forth. It's kind of a fish-like or lizard-like movement. Shortening one side, lengthening the other. Now, there's a little bit of an arch in my back. You might find you prefer to have the knees a little closer so that you don't have any kind of arch in your back, or you might prefer to explore with a bigger arch in your back if you have the strength to do that. I'm going to keep it at a medium level here with a little bit of an arch, so I'm not pressed flat against the floor. And really feeling this in the core muscles. So you may notice that as you go. And I'm also pushing kind of one shoulder down towards my hip here with the arms open, whereas it was more so the elbow that I was drawing down with it, arms behind head. So you've got some choices there. That felt like enough to me. So when you're done with that, you can go ahead and place your feet back on the floor. There's this beautiful sense of hydration that comes in as we move all the joints. We bring them some articulation and space. And you might even want to take a moment. I'm gonna walk my heels out, let my knees kind of fall together. My heels are a little further from my body than before. So not quite constructive rest. But just imagine here a liquid, honey-like substance coating all of the joints. Let's start with the feet. And maybe you've never really paid attention to photographs or images of the skeleton, but if you have that ability to visualize, just see if you can imagine this thick, warm honey coating all of the joints, to the ankle, to the knees, coating the hip socket as well as the hip bone. And the lower back, the sacroiliac joint, into the lower back, and up the spine. This thick, warm honey coating all of the joints up into the middle back, shoulder blades, shoulders themselves, shoulder socket. The elbows into the wrists and fingers. Warm, soft, sweet, golden honey. And up into the neck. The jaw. All the little bones around the ears. The skull, the back of the neck. Where the skull meets the neck. Good job. Let's go ahead and get long here for Shavasana. And if you would prefer to have something under your knees, you can use a bolster or block or something. If you need anything under your head, I do want to point out here, as I have on occasion, that if your chin is jutted back because you're really tight through here, then definitely get something under your head so that you're in a neutral plane here. You don't want to be like this. You don't want to be like that. And sometimes people don't even know that they're like this. Which is why it's helpful to take classes with a teacher, because they can spot things like that you don't even feel. But just notice if that's happening with you and come to a neutral place. And just taking a moment to rest here. Releasing any visualization, any doing, just let it go. Follow the breath. Feel the floor and allow the body to grow heavier and soften and release with every breath. Downward. Let's go ahead and take here a long body stretch, so tightening all of the muscles around the bones as you reach in both directions. Toes pointed or flexed, both going in between. Yawn if it comes. Reach, stretch, and soften everything back to neutral. Let's go ahead and come back to constructive rest so that we can roll to one side of the body. Just take a moment on your side. And planting that top arm to push yourself up, dragging the upper body head last into a seated position. Bringing hands to heart. Let's take a nice deep breath in, exhaling through the mouth. Breathing in again, let's Om to complete class. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this served you well, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the little bell, check out another video, do all the things, the YouTube-y things, and visit my website at divinemetime.com. Take care. All right, and stream.